Hello, and welcome back to the Falklands. Part 2, Argentina versus Britain. Welcome back to Argentina. Times have changed as the USA sponsored the Argentine dictatorship due to the fight against communism. Now the time is 1981. The Argentine economy is in a downfall. The leader of Argentina is the one and the only failure known as Leopoldo Galtieri. Galtieri knew how popular he would be if he could reclaim the last Malvinas. Plus, there had been proposals to cut British spending on the military, and the HMS Endurance had been withdrawn from the war starts. After some planning, Argentina took over the almost inhabited Georgia island and used it as a base to get to the Falklands. Once the Argentine forces reached the island, the British weren't able to handle the huge Argentine force and gave up really quick. Crowds of Argentinians celebrated and worshipped Galtieri, but they were wrong to think that Britain wouldn't do anything, because the person who was in charge of the government at the time was Margaret Thatcher, who was so strong that she was called the Iron Lady. Britain started in the war. Thatcher ordered an exclusion zone around the Falklands and decided to use the British-owned Accession Island to forward the plan. The UN was concerned about the Argentine invasion. All countries in South America except for Chile supported Argentina, and since America propped up the Argentine dictatorship, Reagan went to Thatcher and asked if the Argentinians could just have the island, and Thatcher said no. So Reagan had to supply Britain with weapons and couldn't help Argentina in any way. The first task for the British was to gain control of the seas, which they easily did. A British submarine sunk an Argentine cruiser known as the General Belgrano. It killed 323 people. In response, the Argentine Navy withdrew from the area. Even though the Argentine Air Force was in disguise, they did a lot of damage to the Royal Navy below. Middle War. For weeks after the Sheffield was shot, the Argentine Air Force would continue shooting ships down. San Carlos was chosen as the best site for the British forces to land on. An SAS raid took Argentine forces down on Pebble Island, and the HMS Alacrity came up the Falklands through the south to destroy any Argentine supply ships. Once Britain landed at San Carlos, they started making progressions towards Port Stanley and Goose Green. The Argentine conscripts put up good fights, and with rough, muddy terrain, this was no means easy for the British. But with highly skilled commanders, the British would often find themselves facing huge armies, but still would come out winning. The aftermaths of the war. It was a sad war that claimed hundreds of lives. Argentina still claims the islands, but in a 2013 referendum, 99.8% of the islanders voted British rule.
Created using Powtoon.